Hi everybody, and welcome once again to the outdoorsStation.co.uk. Now, many of us outdoors people are of course using our electronic devices more and more often these days in the wilds. And one thing that does cross your mind is how to keep everything charged so you can keep in contact, use your cameras, keep entertained with MP3 players, GPSs and many more devices. Andy Weller from Rosca Limited, who are the distributors for Brunton products, came into the studio earlier on today to discuss a couple of items that will be of interest to those of us who need a little charge every now and again. Brunton's a well-known name in the US, but not necessarily so in the UK. Would you like to just introduce the company name to us a bit more?
Certainly. Brunton's actually one of the longest established outdoor companies in the industry. They've been around since 1894. Started by producing what's known as transit compasses, very specialist pieces designed for geologists and surveyors. And from there, they've developed ranges of optics, binoculars and spotting scopes, as well as a range of power storage products and solar panels, which is what we're going to be discussing in more detail with the Brunton Bump and Ember that we have here.
Well, certainly we've been seeing the Bump and the Ember in advertising on the magazines and so on, but would you like to just explain what they're intended for and obviously go into more detail?
Certainly. The Bump and the Ember are both what's known as hybrid solar chargers.
This is the
Bump,
okay.
And specifically the USB version. These are both intended to provide backup power to a range of electronic devices, including phones, smartphones and music players. The version I'm holding here is designed specifically for Apple products, known as the iBump, and they work by incorporating a lithium-ion polymer battery within the unit.
Can we just go back to the Bump, please?
Of course.
There, so that people understand that one with the Apple connector on it, the 30-pin standard Apple connector.
Yeah.
That's obviously, I suppose, up to the iPhone 4, isn't
exactly,
it? Not the iPhone 5.
Absolutely, up to the iPhone 4S and all the iPods and so on.
Okay.
It's compatible with those. Unfortunately, Apple haven't yet released the new Lightning connector to third-party developers,
Right.
but undoubtedly there will be adapters available already that would allow you to utilise this.
Okay.
With
now, these have got obviously power in and power out. That we're looking at the power out plug and the females on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can this be plugged in line with your normal Apple charging equipment? That's obviously got that fitting on it and still charge and pass the power through it?
Exactly. Yeah, it can be used as a 3 charger. So you can be charging the device as well as topping up the internal storage within the Bump itself.
Okay, and I presume it's the same on this one as well. We've got where are we? Down here. You hold it. You're near the camera there.
Exactly the same system with the Bump itself. As I said earlier, this is designed for USB products. So you've got an input plug this end. An output plug that end with the input this end, and it's just designed to be used with the relevant cable that comes with your phone or other electronic device.
Okay. Well, obviously sweet little lightweight devices. So let's have an idea of weight and what sort of power they're capable of.
Well, that's the beauty. The Bump in particular is incredibly light, under 30 grams in weight. And as you can see, physically very small. It's actually designed to be attached to a keyring if needs be, and certainly doesn't take up any space or weight in a pocket. In terms of capacity, it has a 550 milliamp capacity, which is sufficient to give half to a third charge to a typical smartphone.
Okay, well, taking that one for example then, realistically, they've obviously got the solar panels on them. What, in the UK environment, UK weather, realistically, is that going to charge from the solar panel? Yeah,
with our wonderful sunny climate that we all enjoy, you need to be realistic about charging times when if you were reliant on the panel. You're looking at the best part of a day. You could be looking at 6, 7, 8 hours, depending on conditions.
Of continual sunshine
to charge it from scratch.
Right.
So it's much better to view the panel as a means of topping up the charge when conditions allow. rather than being dependent on it, because with the best will in the world, it's a long process.
Well, looking at the size of it and obviously the battery capacity that's there, we are talking about, literally, as its name implies, something just to bump up the charge slightly, isn't it?
Precisely. It's a means of getting you through the day.
Right.
When perhaps you've used a phone or other device more than expected, you're not going to have access to mains power until perhaps later in the evening. The bump's a wonderful way of just giving you a bit of a boost and ensuring that you're not without your device perhaps when you need it most.
Okay, let's move on to the other one then. Let's go back to the larger of the two versions.
Yeah, so this is the Ember, and as you can see, physically a little larger, although still very light, 90 grams for the unit, and then the cable that's supplied with it, which I'll talk about in more detail in a moment, adds a mere 16 grams to the total weight. However, this is very much the big brother of the bump in terms of capacity. It's got a 2,800 milliamp internal storage, as well as having the panel on the back. You still have the same issue with charging times using the solar panel. Brunton quotes 7 to 8 hours to charge this from scratch using the panel only, but it only takes 3 to 4 hours maximum to charge from mains power before you set off on a trip.
Okay, so coming back to the connections first of all, if you'd like to point that to the camera, we've got, that's power out, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So you've got your USB outlet and also a micro USB, and the cable that's provided with it is very versatile in that you have USB in that end and then a choice of 3 options: mini USB, micro USB, and finally the Apple 32-pin connector, and neatly contained within the same cable.
Okay, so that's power out to charge your device. Now what about charging that? Can you actually reverse the cable
Yeah,
round
absolutely.
to charge it?
Certainly take out that end and utilise the, I'll make sure I get the right one. And then that can be charged from a USB socket on a laptop or computer.
So ideal if you're travelling somewhere and you don't have to carry continual cables. You've got the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Should cover all.
There's obviously a power button or something sitting on the front of this. What's that do?
Yeah. So on the front of the device we have the on-off switch, and if you press that once, it'll give you an indication of the charge. Within there, we've got 4 lights on there indicating that it's effectively fully charged. If we have or hold the button down for a few moments, you'll notice a green light is on there now. That's just indicating that it's ready to provide power. And finally, you'll notice there's a little sun symbol on this side. Now, if we held that up to daylight, that would glow red to indicate that the solar panel is actually drawing power and starting to top up the internal battery.
So looking at both these items then, whereas the bump is literally for a daily top-up or a top-up during the day or an emergency item perhaps, the Ember, how do you visualise that being used?
Well, I think that's a much more appropriate unit to use perhaps on a weekend away. The capacity is sufficient to deliver 2 charges to a typical phone. So you have the ability there to travel for perhaps a couple of days, safe in the knowledge that you've got sufficient power there to top up phones or other devices.
And what about something bigger like a Kindle or iPad or the tablets?
The Ember, unfortunately, neither units are capable of charging tablets or Kindles. That's down to the output. The output on these units is 1 milliamp, and tablets typically require an output of 2 or an input of 2 milliamps. So
one thing that immediately comes to mind to me is the larger of the two, the Ember, would possibly be ideal for people who are doing a gap year travel or that type of thing, where they would like to have power for their phone occasionally when they go out for their day jaunts or whatever it might be, but they're in a sunny climate and they can actually leave it charging without much fear on the window ledge or something.
Exactly, yeah. Leave it in a hotel room wherever you happen to be staying, and it's actually quite sensitive. It doesn't necessarily need to be bright sunlight, and the unit will still be drawing charge from the sun. So yeah, very versatile in that respect. It's also aesthetically quite pleasing. It's robust. I should have mentioned earlier, both units are actually water resistant, so they are intended to be used in the outdoors. And the other thing to highlight is the Brunton U-Proof guarantee, which basically says however you manage to damage or break the unit, Brunton will replace it. So you've got peace of mind there, and there's no time limit on that guarantee either.
There you have it, a couple of items to keep you topped up and charged up on the hills. My thanks to Andy Weller for coming in from Roscoe, and of course these products are available over on backpackinglight.co.uk. There are more free audio and video podcasts over on theoutdoorstation.co.uk, and you could subscribe to them in iTunes, on our RSS feed, or of course on the YouTube video library. Until next time folks, take care, bye for now.
This machine will have eyes, ears, and a voice.